My fellow Flames of Amethyst, welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. My name is Amethyst, and today we are asking the question, is Cartethyia actually good, or was summoning for her a great mistake? If you haven't summoned for her, should you summon for her? And if you have summoned for her, are you regretting it, or will you regret it? Based on the fact of, did you summon for Chiakona? Did you not summon for Chiakona? Are there going to be units in the future to support her? Are there not? Is she actually worth the investment? Or is she doggy doo-doo? We're about to find out today because we are reacting to Juice's video, How Busted is Cartethyia Actually? How powerful is Cartethyia? And is it a lie? Was it all a facade? We're about to find out here today. So if you enjoy this reaction, hit that like, comment, and subscribe down below. And without further ado, let's get into this.
Since Cartethyia has been out for a couple of days now and I've had the chance to test her out more extensively,
yes,
it's time to evaluate how many of my pre-release pros and cons were accurate or not.
Okay.
My name is Juice, and let's get into it.
Hello, Juice.
I said that she'd be our first Erosion DPS,
yes,
being the absolute master of its negative status. This is true,
okay,
but more so only if you have Shakona.
No!
Without her...
No! I didn't summon for Chiakona. I skipped Chiakona. I didn't want Chiakona. And now she's not the best Erosion DPS without her? Is she not one of the best DPSs of all time without her?
She doesn't feel like she engages with Erosion as much. Essentially, if you do have the Renaissance and Bard, then you're getting quite the package deal here.
Damn.
Fleur-de-Lis is able to amp up the damage of Erosions by up to 50%,
yeah,
which is pretty darn big.
Yeah.
And she deals more damage to enemies based on how many stacks of Erosion they currently have, which is rooted in her inherent 4.
Yeah.
Cartethyia is also able to apply her own stacks of a negative status, and if you have a consistent source of it always being applied,
yeah,
then it's going to be a large part of a team's overall damage profile.
So that's, okay.
Erover
Chiakona constantly applies Erosion, especially in her ultimate, because you can obviously switch out. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, while you've got Cartethyia on the field and Chiakona's doing her ultimate also on the field, you're going to be doing constant bonus damage because Erosion stack is constantly being applied. Without that, you're going to have to rely on Cartethyia to constantly apply her own Erosion, which is good because it is good, and she buffs Erosion by 50%. But with Chiakona on the field, it's just constant Erosion, which means bonus damage and just making your Cartethyia better.
is also capable of increasing the max amount of Erosion stacks on enemies by +3, which only further emphasizes the damage output that Erosions are able to provide.
Yeah.
Shakona offers 100% Erosion amp on outro too, which, as you can imagine, pairing that with everything else, seriously cooks up a perfect storm.
It's disgusting.
She has absolute mastery of the winds if you have the Bard. It's
yeah,
easily the best way to play Erosion teams.
Brilliant.
However,
brilliant.
The thing is, if you don't have Shakona, then while she does still make use out of Erosion due to her self-application of it,
yep,
she doesn't feel like an Erosion DPS as much.
No. Shit.
Erover is just worse than using Shorekeeper, because while Erover is able to offer some Aero Amp via his signature weapon, which you can now get at R free from exploring Septimont, Shorekeeper's crit buffs end up being a lot more valuable for the unit.
Oh.
This is because you're not going to be applying enough Erosion to go beyond the original cap of 6 anyways, so up to the—
Basically, you don't use Erover, use Shorekeeper, but the best option, and really the only option, is to have Chiakona if you have her. Damn it!
9 stacks being available isn't really anything groundbreaking when you're never going to be making use of that. Erover just ends up feeling kind of cooked compared to Shorekeeper.
He is
cooked. He feels
cooked.
a lot more like a traditional Aero DPS.
He's the main character. He's always going to be cooked in gameplay, but in lore, he's the most powerful thing in the universe. That's how it always works.
Without Shakona due to these issues. She self-applies enough Erosion for a kit to be functional, but not enough to fill the hole that is left by not having the Bard. So she is still technically our first Erosion DPS,
okay,
and she still does benefit from having Erosion on enemies, even if you're just relying on her self-applied Erosions.
Okay, good.
But it doesn't feel like you're taking advantage of it as much without a specific teammate.
Ow.
With that being said, if you do have Shakona, then you most definitely do feel like you're playing the premier Erosion DPS.
Okay.
It's just the unfortunate nature of negative status users wanting their best in slot 5-star support kicking in again.
That's
okay,
annoying.
So
That's
I
so
said that
annoying.
I would be surprised if Cartethyia didn't end up becoming the new best Aero DPS. She did in fact become the new best Aero DPS.
To be honest, I still don't regret summoning for Chiakona because Chiakona she was really fun. Her music is cute. I really liked Chiakona as a character, but gameplay-wise, I just wasn't interested.
Yes, by quite a significant margin, if we assume that she has access to your best installed team. That's for sure. No doubt about that. In fact, she ends up becoming one of the best DPSs in the game on the whole if you were able to snag yourself a Shakona.
Okay.
Absolutely annihilating endgame right now. While Middle Tower is in fact chilling her, the shield isn't anywhere near as insane as what Zara's Middle Tower shield was, so it's likely that she's going to continue to feel really good going forward.
Okay, good.
However, if you don't have Cocoa Powder, I hate to be a party pooper, but then I genuinely still just think that Xion is better. Hear me?
What? No. No. She just said John's better?
Hear me out. He does far better with a 4-star teammate. And shoot, that 4-star teammate is his current best assault partner in crime, providing perfect buffs that tailor to his kit splendidly. He's far less reliant on Shorekeeper, even if he does enjoy having her in the team. You can do a whole lot more using Verino with Gion, as opposed to using Verino with Cartethyia. Attack buffs are effective on him, so it also helps more gear support the guy as of now. Since we don't have a whole lot that can help HP scaling DPSs at the moment, he's also far less reliant on having Verdant Summit, because alternatives do come closer for him. Cartethyia wants her signature weapon way more than Gion, and especially so if you don't have Shakona.
Okay, so I've got her weapon. Does that mean she's fine? You just said, if you don't have Chiakona, then her weapon is basically a must-pull. So I've got her weapon, so am I fine?
She's gonna feel kind of cooked otherwise. So while I do believe Cardo with her best install team wipes the floor with most DPSs in this game, without Shakona, I do believe a Gion is actually still a better Arrow DPS.
What? What? Oh, no. A Midnight Ranger that has a percentage of the Sentinel's power is better than the Sentinel and Threnodium Resonator. Are you skunked? Are you? Oh my god.
In fact, I feel like Shakona-less Cartethyia falls behind the performance of plenty of other limited DPSs of cheaper teams. Once again, this is just the nature of negative status teams. Her power baseline is still very high, because she's able to get by just fine without her premium support. You're not gonna get wild performance out of a Shakona-less Carta is all. I mentioned that her attacks seemed like they would have good AoE, and honestly, yeah, I'd say so. She hits all enemies in a decent range.
Okay, we're getting into the good stuff now, okay.
And in game modes like Whimpering Wastes, where such a thing matters the most,
To be fair, no, yeah, her AoE is disgusting.
She definitely performed well. I have no complaints here, and never felt like she was far too
She's using Shiakona, Sunhua, and Aero Rover. Maybe I'll try that team, or I'll use Cartethyia, Sunhua, and Shorekeeper and see how that goes.
Target locked, or like she wasn't dealing with large groups of enemies well enough. She's great at taking out trash mobs, and is just fine against enemy encounters that feature a handful of enemies being on field at the same time. Neat stuff.
Okay.
I did mention that because Cartethyia is a special class of unit, being Renaissance to Sentinel Resonator, she would end up inherently feeling like she was a cut above the rest.
Well, what's the verdict?
I'm actually surprised to say, without Shakona, no.
No. You can't do this to me. I summoned for S2 Cartethyia. Do you know how much I sacrificed?
Not really. If you don't have the Bard, then she actually feels very in line with most of her units. If anything, falling behind most of her units.
Oh my god. Oh my, I'm cooked. I'm cooked. Guys, I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I wasted and spent everything I had. I'm cooked.
She's nowhere near as flexible as Jinshi was with her teams. A character who—
Stop! You're making it worse. Stop, Juice, please.
Has a wide array of second slot teammates to pick from at this point. And even on Jinshi's release, you had Yuanwu to help her out if you didn't pull for Yinlin, who came before.
The boy, my man, my suited and booted king, Yuanwu.
Her, or Jojo, who came after her. Granted, people did only discover Yuanwu's solid capabilities of Jinshi a little while after.
I didn't. Frame one. My team was Jinshi, Yuanwu, and it was Yinlin, I believe. I think it was Jinshi, Yuanwu, and Yinlin, and that was the team. After 1.1, that was the team. I got lucky enough to get S1 Jinshi and her weapon, and I was using Yuanwu, and then I was also using Yinlin, because obviously Yinlin grants a percentage of Resonance Liberation bonus. That's what I was using. And it was sublime. Or I was using Sunhua and Yuanwu with Jinshi.
After she came out, but nevertheless, the option remained. Now, if you do have the Bard, then yes. You do get a Sentinel Resonator level of performance. But once again, it's not so absurd to the point where you feel like your Carlotta or Phoebe Zani team is obsolete now.
Fuck!
It's definitely strong.
To be fair, my Zani still is the hardest hitting thing ever. And you'll see why in the next couple of days. I did something on the game based on some of the new content with Zani, and it made it made the game feel like a walk in the park. It's like I was going for a summer stroll, you know, a Sunday night walk. It was ridiculously easy. Zani They really, I don't know what they were doing cooking up Zani in the kitchen, but they made probably the most powerful DPS in the entire game with that. Her and Carlotta, they cooked hard. Cartethyia, I'm having fun using her, and she's stunning to look at, and the animations are clean, but the damage doesn't seem, it feels like it could be more, and now watching Juice's video, it's now given me the explanation to why.
You can tell, but not insultingly so. I do wish that her power balancing was handled a little better in terms of people who skip Shakona for her.
Yes!
She just feels like a normal unit for anybody who wasn't able to.
If you want a powerhouse Cartethyia, you will need S3, because S3 grants 100% increase in crit damage. So I'm guessing without Chiakona, an S3 Cartethyia minimum is what you'd need.
Invest into the Bard. It's a shame, since Jinchi was far more versatile than this. It does make sense that Cartethyia embodies negative statuses within the region that's shilling them, but Arrow Rover not being able to apply his own erosions is seriously a bummer.
Yeah, that needs to change. Arrow Rover needs a buff.
This leads me into the con that I previously mentioned in regards to your team restrictiveness, and wish to have Shakona in the team. Honestly, free-to-play Zani feels better than free-to-play Cartethyia.
Oh! Free-to-play Zani feels better than free-to-play Cartethyia.
Rover should have been able to apply erosions too. Free-to-play Zani still feels like a strong team, whereas the Divine Maiden feels like she's, honestly, more on the cope side. It's a little sad. I don't think free-to-play Carta should feel as okay-ish as she does. I don't think she's flat out bad with Shakona, I do want to say that now. She's not so horrible to the point where you literally won't clear. It just doesn't feel that good to use, honestly.
Oh.
This leads into the wider discussion surrounding 4-stars, and how we seriously need more of them.
Oh.
I know that some folks don't really feel like 4-star characters would add much to the game.
No, 4 stars would definitely add much to the game, and anyone saying they wouldn't, stop it. Stop it. And this is now proof!
And from a logical standpoint, why would kurogames invest their time and resources into a character, put a lot of effort into their animations and model, only for them to be a 4-star? For this exact reason.
Yes, for this reason. For this thing on the screen. I'm joking. No, this character on the screen here, that's why.
I'm not a game designer, and I won't pretend like I know anything about it, but from my personal experience, I do seriously think that adding budget versions of characters like Support Phoebe and Shakona would really help lighten the blow of how—
Yeah, and that is the problem. There is no healer like Shorekeeper. There's no 4-star healer like Shorekeeper. There's no 4-star buffer and healer, well, mainly buffer. There's no 4-star version of Verena. There is no 4-star version of Shakona. There is no 4-star buffer. There's none. And if there is, it's like they're you know, you got Sun Hua, sure, but we need new ones. We've got Yuan Wu for a shield buff. We've got Sun Hua for a basic attack buff. You know, we need new ones.
How devastating it is to not have these specific 5-stars for these units. I get that the last few 4-stars we got were terrible. Lumi and Yohu are awful. Nobody cares about them because they just suck.
Yeah, what was the point in making those 2 units? I get it was just, oh look, a new shiny unit to have. Oh, okay. One of them's a speedster, which is cool, but they're useless other than that. They're literally the most useless thing ever. Oh, Yoo-hoo, you can juggle the dice, roll the dice for a certain buff or debuff on the enemy. Oh, no one uses her. No one uses them.
However, when a 4-star is done right, for instance, somebody like Mortefi, you end up with a fantastic—
Mortefi is one of the best 4-stars in the game.
Class-specific buffer. I get that Kuro doesn't want to make the next Sanhua. That's fine. We don't need a—
But that's pathetic. That's actually pathetic. No, if Kuro doesn't want to make the next Sanhua, that's selfish and it's pathetic. They should. And it would make them more money. It would make them more money because then it would entice people to go on the banners to summon for them. Not just for the 4-star, but no, not just for the 5-star, but the 4-star. If there's a 5-star that they don't want, but there's a 4-star on that banner that could really help them in the game, they're more inclined to summon on it just at least a couple of pulls to hope in getting that 4-star. I'm proof of this. I've done that before.
Need a 4-star that literally works for everything and everyone. That turns the 5-star options obsolete. But we do need characters that are at least okay alternatives.
Yes.
Because as it stands, your second slot options if you don't have Shakona are Sanhua, Alto, and Changli.
Yep.
Admittedly, the Changli team is good, and our 25% liberation buffing on outro is really solid for Fleur-de-Lis's big finishing move.
Yeah.
But that team isn't easy to play. You're gonna have to put effort into swapping Changli in during Fleur-de-Lis's longer animations.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Sanhua is good, and the basic percent buffing isn't totally wasted. Not to mention her good personal damage if you do build her. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just kinda cope. There's no erosion application happening there. And yeah, Alto is,
Dog shit. He's dog shit. Alto is doggy doo-doo. Alto, no, don't Juice. I appreciate you and your content. Don't sugarcoat this shit. Say he's dog shit.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. We'll leave it at that. Please don't invest resources into him if you're just using him as an outro skill bot. So she does have alternatives. I'm not trying to say she's literally unplayable otherwise. I just feel like free-to-play Carta is undertuned, compared to how insanely strong her premium team is. I get that it has premium in the team name for a reason, but consider how Carlotta was handled. Joja is for sure her best hypercarry teammate, but using alternatives still feels really good.
I didn't get Jojo, right? And after I built my Carlotta, she was dishing out some of the most damage I've ever seen when she came out, and I wasn't even using her best in slot team. I was using Sunhua, and I think Yinlin as well. No, I was using Sunhua and Shorekeeper, or Yinlin and Shorekeeper. That's what I was using, and it was working.
It doesn't help that all of our non-signature weapon options feel really bad at the minute, because she's our first HP scaling character, so if you don't have her insane signature weapon or Shakona, then honestly, she simply doesn't feel like a good pull right now. I'd unironically pass on her if you never intend on pulling for the Bard. Their performance just isn't
That makes me so sad.
as high free-to-play wise as some may have hoped. And that's another thing. Her weapon options right now just suck, and supportive gear options for her kind of suck because HP scaling DPSs are new to the game.
Yeah.
Static mist on your Shakona isn't helping Cartethyia.
She's going to be a unit that really thrives in the future. When they start dropping more 4-stars and other 5-star supports, she's going to be... Yeah, I guarantee by the end of the year, by the end of 2K25, she'll be a much better unit and a much better investable unit than she is now, which is a real shame. A real shame.
Because attack percent buffing is useless there, and you want to put Bellborn Geocologne on your Shorekeeper of Arena as opposed to Fallacy for the same reasons. Otherwise, there's not many supportive sets we can use to help remedy the situation, and if they buff baseline Carta, they're also effectively buffing premium Carta, who's already insanely strong as it currently stands. So the best way out of this is to offer a budget version of Shakona, in my opinion. I know this isn't what some people want to hear, and please, if you love this character, truly not caring about whatever her meta position is like, then don't let me stop you from enjoying her.
No, of course. If you like the character and you want to clear the content with the character, like the best free-to-play content, not endgame and stuff, yeah, of course, I'm still going to use her. She's still one of the best-looking units in the entire game. But in terms of utility, it kind of sucks that this is the case.
But I'm being honest when I say that I don't think she's a good pull when you're unable to invest into your key components. There's also some minor multi-wave nitpicks that I mentioned last time. As I said, they're just nitpicks. If you have the Bard, she applies Erosion and multi-wave anyway, but essentially, if you reach max Erosion stacks on an enemy, but defeat them before you can launch her ult finisher, you won't be reaping the most out of abilities like her I4, when the new enemies that spawn in aren't gonna have as many Erosion stacks. But this isn't too big of a deal. Her S1 is able to fix this issue, but I wouldn't pull it or buy it with corals over this small detail. It's nice.
Oh, I bought it with coral.
Quality of life to have in wuwa though. Otherwise, you'll melt down enemy waves either way. If you're Shakonaless, then this won't matter anyway, because you're never even going to be reaching the 6 cap that exists.
I wasted my coral? I should have waited. I should have waited. I should have waited. I should have waited. I should have just bloody waited. I should have... Oh! No! No, that's it. I'm saving for coral again. I'm saving my coral again. No, absolutely not.
For the max amount of erosion that you can have on an enemy at a time. Now it's time for what you've been waiting for. Where do I currently think that Cartethyia stands in the meta? I think that if you have her premium tier investment, she's literally one of the best DPSs that you can have right now.
Great.
Extremely powerful, the best way to play the erosion negative status, and she will continue to wipe the floor for ages to come.
Amazing.
Very strong character that was built around her premium tier investment. But that's the thing. For free-to-plays that aren't able to take the full plunge and pick up everything she wants, I wouldn't bother. She's not impressive at all, and might not even be better than the current main DPSs that you're using. If you're looking for new DPSs to fill out your roster some more, then I actually would look elsewhere if you don't have Shakona. It sucks, but it really is just that cooked. I will say, it's exaggerating to say that she can't clear or that she's physically unusable. Not true. It's just gonna cost you more resources and time to clear. If you invest a lot, obviously you will be fine and clear TOA just like anybody else. However, I'm just being fully transparent here, since there are some people who do like clearing comfortably, as that assures them that they will be—
That is not the case here. You will clear it, but not comfortably. You will struggle. You will sweat. You will keel over and die trying to clear this thing with her, basically, if you don't have Giacona.
able to clear endgame for a long time going into the future. For others, as long as they can get endgame rewards for the next 1 to 2 months, they don't care. It depends on what type of player you are, and how much you care for the longevity of your units. It'd take some serious HP inflation to make free-to-play Cartethyia unusable, which is never going to happen, because then that makes other DPSs unusable too.
That's true.
And to be honest, Wuthering Waves just doesn't really have super significant HP inflation.
That's true.
However, it's not exaggerating to say, but there are better investments to make in regards to an S0 R1 DPS if you don't have a premium team. This is just how negative status teams are going to be. Now, with that being said, if you're willing to lock in for the long run and pick up her best gear, then she is for sure a good pull to make.
Okay, well, I will be doing that. I will be investing and building her, and when she's perfectly built, I'll then see what she can do then.
But it's up to you. I'd personally advise otherwise.
Ah!
But if you're a big fan of the character, don't worry.
Ah, okay.
Yes, you will clear.
She keeps scaring me. Jews, you're scaring me here. You're scaring me. You're telling me one thing, I get excited, and then you just go, and I was like, oh no. But then you go, but it's not too bad. But it is pretty trash.
Here, just make sure that you max out her important Forte skills and build up your Sanhua, so that you're able to clear comfortably going forward. If all you want is endgame
So Sanhua and Shorekeeper, okay.
rewards, then yes, you will get that, and obviously pull for who you like. I'm not trying to discourage doing that, but I do still want to be fully honest about Cartethyia's situation so that nobody makes an investment that they're going to regret in the long run. And of course, the better you get at playing the character, the faster you will clear. Over time, it's likely that people are going to discover tech that makes her clear a lot faster.
Yeah,
so
true.
there's a light at the end of a tunnel, but as it stands, nothing impressive about Shikona. But she is the true Sentinel Resonator of the Imperator with her. I do like this unit, but I do really think that the 4-star issue is rearing its head once more. I get that some people really don't care about the 4-star situation.
I do. I would like more 4 stars. I would like at least a 4-star. 1 4-star every other patch. At minimum. At minimum, 1 4-star every other patch. Every 2 patches include a new 4-star. 1.3 and 1.4 both had a 4-star on their banners. That was 2 new 4-stars, which is pretty good. I wouldn't care if it was like, 2.5 doesn't. 2.5 has a 4-star, but 2.6 doesn't. 2.7 has a 4-star, 2.8 doesn't. I wouldn't mind that. I think that's a pretty good thing for them to do.
But I do think we need cheaper team alternatives to these
We do.
characters.
No, we do. Absolutely.
Otherwise, I do think she's very strong.
Maybe if that new Aero 5-star, the new dude, Kwai Yuan, coming later this year, maybe if he's a supporting unit, he's going to be able to really support Cartethyia. If he's a main DPS, then I don't know.
Strong as a premium character. I do hope that going forward, kurogames does not have future Sentinel Resonators be this locked to one other character. I do really like Shikona, she's awesome, but this is kind of a shame. I mean, hey, as long as you're getting in-game rewards, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of people just aren't going to care because waifu. Fair enough.
No, I don't care because of waifu. I care because she looks really cool. And when she does the whole Excalibur Getsuga Tensho, I want to see over 100,000, 200,000 damage. Not 20, 30, maybe 50. I don't want to see like 50, 50, 50. I want to see 75, 100, 175. That's what I want to see.
But it's good to invest in something knowing what you're getting. How about yourself? Are you pleased with Cartethyia or not? Let me know down below. I'd love to know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually think I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I actually think Cartethyia is still one of the best looking units in the entire game in terms of animation. In terms of animation, one of the best units in the entire game. In terms of utility, I did notice that she was lacking, and I wasn't too sure why. And I'm building her quite nicely. Her crit damage, her crit rate, her HP is doing really well. Her HP is near 45,000. So it's on the way to 50k, which is apparently the optimal health thing. Her crit rate is like 60%, and her crit damage is 220% at the moment, but it's going up. So yeah, we shall see. Her S3 really would make it beneficial for me, because if I have 220% crit damage and then I get her S3, that's 320% crit damage. So her S3 is going to really buff her, and I realistically should be going for S3, because especially after watching this. But yeah, let me know down below what you think of this, and let me know down below if you enjoyed this reaction, and let me know down below if you have or haven't summoned for Cartethyia, and after this, will you or will you not be? Thank you for watching. I'll speak to you in the next one. I'll leave a link to Juice's channel in the description. Great content creator. Haven't had a chance to meet them yet, but I hope to someday do so. See you guys in the next one. Take it easy.